Hi, welcome to English 11 Week 8. Weeks 1 through 6 are closed, but last week, Week 7 is still open. So please go back and submit any assignments that you missed from Week 7 to give yourself the best shot to get the best grade in this class. Make sure you pass and get the credits you need to graduate. You'll also need to focus really well on the remaining assignments because there aren't that many and you want to do your best on each one to make sure you get enough points to pass the class. Let me know if you need help. You know I'm in the lab 8 to 2, Monday through Thursday and Friday by appointment, and I'm there to help you. That's what I want to do. I want you to do well. So we're on the Crucible this week. We're working on that some more. Last week we read Act 1 if you came to class, or you read that on your own, and then you read Act 2 on your own. Remember that at the end of Act 1, which we read in class, the accusations were flying from the girls because it dawned on them that this was the way for them to get out of trouble and also to bring a little excitement to their lives, maybe. So they started the chain of events for some pretty shallow motives, but also they're girls, they're young, they're probably maybe 12 to 14, 15, 16 years old, maybe 17 at the most. So they're also afraid. So they did what they did and started the ball rolling. So then Act 2, which was the one you were supposed to read on your own, by the time Act 2 begins, we learn that there's 14 people who have been jailed for witchcraft and have to either confess. If they confess, this is a twisted system. If they confess, then they will have some penalties, but they won't be hanged. If they won't confess to witchcraft, then they will be hanged. And you know that none of them is really guilty of witchcraft. So they have a terrible decision to make, to confess to something that they didn't do and save their lives and face the penalty or die. And so that's the gist of Act 2. Mary Warren comes home and gives Elizabeth this doll that eventually leads to Elizabeth being arrested for sticking a needle in the sort of like a voodoo doll, which Mary's willing to testify that she put that needle in herself when she sewed the doll in court. But Abigail is now acting like she's in great pain from the doll being stuck with the needle. And now we learn that there's now 39 people who've been accused, and the accusations continue. So we see that Mary has gained a lot of power now. John tells her she can't go back to court. She says, I'm an officer of the court. You can't tell me what to do. And she's just a kid who works for him. But that's how much power the girls have gained through this series of events. So that's something they don't want to give up. Hale shows up in Act 2 at the different houses, and particularly we see him at the house of the Proctors. And you can tell he's beginning to have his doubts. Is any of this true? He didn't come here necessarily to identify witches. He came out to decide if it was true that there was witchcraft in the town. And one of the ways that he quizzes people is he's checking for their Christianity. And he's been told that John doesn't attend church regularly, maybe only once a month. And so he quizzes him on the 10 Commandments. And between John, with some help from his wife Elizabeth, he's able to name 9 of them. But the one commandment he can't come up with is committing adultery, which is ironic, or actually telling, not so ironic, because that's the sin he has committed. So at the end of it, Elizabeth is arrested and dragged away, and we see Reverend Hale wavering. And that's where we're going to begin now with reading Act 3. And you need to read that on your own, and then we'll read, I think, which is it? I'll have to check, but check your calendar. But come to class this week, and we'll read, I think, Act 3 together. Maybe that's what it is. On Tuesday. I'm pretty sure we're reading Act 3 together on Tuesday. Judge Dan Firth makes a quote in Act 3 that I want you to think about now and answer for me at the bottom. He says, a person is either with this court or must be counted against it. And I want you to think about in terms of remembering that 14 people are waiting to be either hanged or confessed as witches, and 39 more are accused and will face that same circumstance. So what is the problem with a statement like this? Do you see a problem with the truth and fairness, real justice, when people are making statements like that and having trials like this? So that's what I want you to answer. What do you see as the problem with that quote, that a person is either with this court or he must be counted against it? You're either on board that there are witches in town and these girls are telling the truth, or you're against us. What do you think is the problem with that? Answer that in the quote below, and I'll see you in class Tuesday at 9:30. We'll read some more of The Crucible together, and you'll get the credit for completing the assignment and extra credit for attending class. Thanks. Bye-bye.